seriously, especially in Vrindavan, when the Supreme Lord was personally present. Therefore, the doubts of Nanda Maharaj were certainly based on affection for Krishna. Actually, there was no danger from the activities of Putana, despite her powers. Such witches are called Kechari, which means they can fly in the sky. This black art of witchcraft is still practiced by some women in the remote northwestern side of India. They can transfer themselves from one place to another on the branch of an uprooted tree. Putana knew this witchcraft, and therefore she is described in the Bhagavatam as Kechari. So here we hear Prabhupada explaining that wherever the holy names of the Lord are chanted, all dangerous calamities, bad elements are completely dissipated. So Prabhupada said the temples of Krishna are all Vaikuntha, or no anxiety. So that therefore, as a result of the chanting of the holy names, because we know Nam Nam Rupa Kali Kale Krishna Avatar, in this age of Kali, Krishna is the sound incarnation. So wherever he is personally present, there's no need to be fearful at all. So Putana entered the county of Gokula, the residential quarter of Nanda Maharaj, without permission, dressing herself just like a beautiful woman. She entered the house of Mother Yashoda. She appeared very beautiful, with raised hips, nicely swollen breasts, earrings and flowers in her hair. She looked especially beautiful on account of her thin waist. She was glancing at everyone with very attractive looks and smiling face, and all the residents of Vrindavan were captivated. The innocent cowherd women thought that she was the goddess of fortune, appearing in Vrindavan with a lotus flower in her hand. It seemed to them that she had personally come to see Krishna, who was her husband. Because of her exquisite beauty, no one checked her movement, and therefore she freely entered the house of Nanda Maharaj. Putana, the killer of many, many children, found baby Krishna lying on a small bed, and she could at once perceive that the baby was hiding his unparalleled potencies, which resembled fire covered by ashes. Putana thought, this child is so powerful that he can destroy the whole universe immediately. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur reminds us that Putana is a demonstration of the false guru. So there are false gurus out there, and they like a jackal dressed up in sheep's clothing. So Putana was this representation of a false guru. So looking very attractive, glancing at everyone with a smiling face, but then inwardly hiding the fact that she wanted to kill Krishna. Putana's understanding is very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is situated in everyone's heart. We know, Sarvasya chaham ridi sanivishto, matasmriti jnanam apohanam cha, vedaischa sarver aham eva vedyo, vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. So I am situated in everyone's heart. From me come knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. Indeed, I am the knower of the Vedas and the compiler of the Vedas. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that he gives one necessary intelligence, and he also causes one to forget. Putana was immediately aware that the child whom she was observing in the house of Nanda Maharaj was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He was lying there as a small baby, but that does not mean he was less powerful. The materialistic theory that God worship is anthropomorphic is not correct. No living being can become God by undertaking meditation or austerities. God is always God. Krishna, as a baby, is as complete as he is as a full-fledged youth. The Mayavad theory holds that the living entity was formerly God, but has now become overwhelmed by the influence of Maya. Therefore the Mayavadis say that presently he is not God, but when the influence of Maya is taken away, he will again become God. This theory cannot be applied to the minute living entities. The living entities are minute parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are minute particles or sparks of the original fire. So these sparks can be covered by the influence of Maya, but the original fire, Krishna, cannot. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even from the beginning of his appearance in the house of Vasudeva and Devaki. So essentially we know Daiviyesha Gunomai Mama Maya Duratyaya. So this material energy of Maya, and Krishna says, is very difficult to overcome. Of course, but Krishna is never under the influence of Maya. And Maya is his servant. And going back to the earlier statement in this paragraph, there are some false gurus who say you can become God in 6 months. And they say, give us a fee and then you can become God. However, Prabhupada is saying here, God is always God. No living being can become God by undertaking meditation or austerities. So Krishna showed the nature of a small baby and closed his eyes as if to avoid the face of Putana. This closing of the eyes is interpreted and studied in different ways by the devotees. Some say that Krishna closed his eyes because he did not like to see the face of Putana, who had killed so many children and had now come to kill him. Others say that Putana hesitated to take the baby on her lap because something extraordinary was being dictated to her from within, and that in order to give her assurance, Krishna closed his eyes so he would not be frightened. And yet others interpret in this way: Krishna appeared in order to kill the demons and give protection to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadunam vinashaya chadushkritam. The first demon to be killed was a woman. According to Vedic rules, the killing of a woman, a brahmana, cows, or a child is strictly forbidden. Krishna was obliged to kill the demon Putana, and because the killing of a woman is forbidden according to Vedic Shastra, he could not help but close his eyes. Another interpretation is that Krishna closed his eyes because he simply took Putana to be his nurse. Putana came to Krishna just to offer her breast for the Lord to suck. Krishna is so merciful that even though he knew Putana was there to kill him, he took her as his nurse or mother. There are 7 kinds of mothers according to Vedic injunction. The real mother, the wife of a teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a king, the wife of a brahmana, the cow, the nurse, and Mother Earth. Because Putana came to take Krishna on her lap and offer her breast milk to be sucked by him, she was accepted by Krishna as one of his mothers. That is considered to be another reason. Also treated as a mother and given the same facility as Yashoda. As Yashoda was given liberation from the material world, Putana was also given liberation. When the baby Krishna closed his eyes, Putana took him on her lap. She did not know that she was holding death personified. If a person mistakes a snake for a rope, he dies. Similarly, Putana had killed so many babies before meeting Krishna, and she mistook him to be like them, but now she was accepting the snake that would kill her immediately. We know Krishna to be omnipotent, which means he has the ability to kill anyone at any point in time. We know the Bengali aphorism, Rahi Krishna Mahike, Mahi Krishna Rakike. So if Krishna wants us dead, nothing can save us. If Krishna wants us to live, nothing can kill us. When Putana was taking baby Krishna on her lap, both Yashoda and Rohini were present. But because she was so beautifully dressed and showed motherly affection toward Krishna, they did not forbid her. They could not understand that she was a sword within a decorated case. Putana had smeared a very powerful poison on her breasts, and immediately after taking the baby on her lap, she pushed her breastly nipple within his mouth. She was hoping that as soon as he would suck her breast, he would die. But baby Krishna very quickly took the nipple in anger. He sucked the milk poison along with the life air of the demon. In other words, Krishna simultaneously sucked the milk from her breast and killed her by sucking out her life. Krishna is so merciful that because the demon Putana came to offer her breast milk to him, he fulfilled her desire and accepted her activity as motherly. But to stop her from further nefarious activities, he immediately killed her. And because the demon was killed by Krishna, she got liberation. As Krishna pressed her breast extremely hard and sucked out her very breath, Putana fell down on the ground, spread her arms and legs and began to cry, "Oh child, leave me, leave me!" She was crying loudly and perspiring, and her whole body became wet. So we see the merciful nature of Krishna here, where he knows he has to perform some form of atonement for Putana. So he kills her so that she doesn't go on doing any more heinous crimes, such as killing more children, and then she gets her liberated to go back to her eternal position. As she died screaming, there was a tremendous vibration on the earth and in the sky, on the upper planets and lower planets, and in all directions, and people thought that thunderbolts were falling. Thus the nightmare of the Putana witch was over, and she assumed her real feature as a great demon. She opened her fierce mouth and spread her arms and legs all over. She fell exactly as VrajaPrema did when struck by the thunderbolt of Indra. So this is an interesting point here, because Krishna actually pushed Putana over onto the favorite garden of Kamsa. So not only was it the death of Putana, but it was also the destruction of Kamsa's favorite garden. And when Putana reached her full size of this great demon, she was 12 miles high in the sky. So just a way of realizing that is the flight path of an aeroplane is 10 miles or 40,000 feet. So she's taller than the flight path of an aeroplane. That's how tall Putana was. So her fallen body extended up to 12 miles and smashed all the trees to pieces. And everyone was struck with wonder upon seeing this gigantic body. Her teeth appeared just like plows, and her nostrils appeared just like mountain caves. Her breast appeared like small hills, and her hair was a vast reddish bush. Her eye sockets appeared like blind wells, and her 2 thighs appeared like 2 banks of a river. Her 2 hands appeared like 2 strongly constructed bridges, and her abdomen seemed like a dried up lake. All the cowherd men and women became struck with awe and wonder upon seeing this, and the tumultuous sound of her falling shocked their brains and ears and made their hearts beat strongly. When the gopis saw little Krishna fearlessly playing on Putana's lap, they very quickly came and picked him up. Mother Yashoda, Rohini, and other elder gopis immediately performed the auspicious rituals by taking the tail of a cow and circumambulating his body. The child was completely washed with the urine of a cow, and the dust created by the hooves of the cows was thrown all over his body. This was all just to save little Krishna from future inauspicious accidents. This incident gives us a clear indication of how important the cow is to the family, society, and to living beings in general. The transcendental body of Krishna did not require any protection, but to instruct us on the importance of the cow, the Lord was smeared over with cow dung, washed with the urine of a cow, and sprinkled with the dust upraised by the walking of the cows. So it's pertinent at this juncture to remind us that Rupa Goswami explains that every item of the cow is a worshipable deity. So you can put cow urine on your altar, you offer it arati. According to Rupa Goswami, he's explaining it's a worshipable deity, every item. The cow dung you can use for bath. We sell soap in the temple shop that has the cow dung and urine. In this Rupa Goswami understanding that every item of the cow is a worshipable deity. After this purificatory process, the gopis, headed by Mother Yashoda and Rohini, chanted the names of Vishnu to give Krishna's body full protection from all evil influences. They washed their hands and feet and sipped water 3 times, as is the custom before chanting mantra. They chanted as follows: "My dear Krishna, may the Lord, who is known as Aja, protect your legs. May Lord Maniman protect your knees. May Lord Yagya protect your thighs. May Lord Achyuta protect your upper waist. May Lord Hayagriva protect your abdomen. May Lord Keshava protect your heart. May Lord Isha protect your chest. May Lord Surya protect your neck. May Lord Vishnu protect your arms. May Lord Urukrama protect your face. May Lord Ishvara protect your head. May Lord Chakradhara protect your front. May Lord Garadhara protect your back. May Lord Madhusudana, who carries a bow in his hand, protect your right side. May Lord Anjana protect your left side. May Lord Urugaya with his conch shell protect you on all sides. May the personality of Godhead Upendra protect you from above. May Lord Tarksha protect you on the ground. May Lord Haradhara protect you from all sides. May the personality of Godhead known as Rishikesha protect all your senses. May Lord Narayana protect your life heirs. May the Lord of Shvetadvip, Narayana, protect the core of your heart. May Lord Yogeshwara protect your mind. May Lord Prishnigarbha protect your intelligence. And may the Supreme Personality of Godhead protect your soul. While you are playing, may Lord Govinda protect you from all sides. And when you are sleeping, may Lord Madhava protect you from all danger. When you are walking, may the Lord of Vaikuntha protect you from falling down. When you are sitting, may Lord Narayana give you all protection. And while you are eating, may the Lord of all sacrifices give you all protection. So this shows how much love that Mother Yashoda and Rohini had for their son and Krishna by wanting him to be protected in so many ways. And it's also a nice recollection that Krishna has hundreds of millions of names, like Krishna and Govinda. Thus Mother Yashoda chanted different names of Vishnu to protect child Krishna's different bodily parts. Mother Yashoda was firmly convinced that she could protect her child from different kinds of evil spirits and ghosts, namely Dakinis, Yatudanis, Kushmandas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Vinayakas, Kotaras, Revatis, Jeshtas, Putanas, Matrikas, Unmadas, and similar other evil spirits who cause persons to forget their own existence and give trouble to the life heirs and the senses. Sometimes they appear in dreams and cause much perturbation. Sometimes they appear as old women and suck the blood of small children. But no such ghosts and evil spirits can remain where there is chanting of the holy name of God. Mother Yashoda was firmly convinced of the Vedic injunctions about the importance of cows and the holy name of Vishnu. Therefore she took all shelter in the cows and the name of Vishnu just to protect her child Krishna. She recited all the holy names of Vishnu so that she might save the child. Vedic culture has taken advantage of keeping cows and chanting the holy names of Vishnu since the beginning of history. And persons who are still following the Vedic ways, especially the householders, keep at least 12 cows and worship the deity of Lord Vishnu, who is installed in their house. Persons who are advancing in Krishna consciousness should take instruction from this pastime and also be very much interested in cows and the holy name of Vishnu. So here Srila Prabhupada is giving us the instruction that perhaps we can chant Vishnu Sahasranam. It's a very beautiful prayer, and we can chant all the holy names of Vishnu and therefore invoke auspiciousness. And also being very much interested in the cows and cow protection. The elder gopis of Vrindavan were so absorbed in affection for Krishna that they wanted to save him, although there was no need to, for he had already protected himself. They could not understand that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, playing as a child. After performing the formalities to protect the child, Mother Yashoda took Krishna and let him suck her breast. When the child was protected by Vishnu mantra, Mother Yashoda felt that he was safe. In the meantime, all the cowherd men who had gone to Mathura to pay tax returned home and were struck with wonder at seeing the gigantic dead body of Putana. Nanda Maharaj recalled the prophecy of Vasudeva and considered him a great sage and mystic yogi. Otherwise, how could he have foretold an incident that happened during his absence from Vrindavan? After this, all the residents of Vraja cut the gigantic body of Putana into pieces and piled it up with wood for burning. When all the limbs of Putana's body were burning, the smoke emanating from the fire created a good aroma of a guru. So essentially, as a result of Putana performing devotional service to Krishna, offering her breast milk to Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with her by giving her this beautiful aroma that emanates from her body when it's burnt. This aroma was due to her being killed by Krishna. This means that the demon Putana was washed of all her sinful activities and attained a celestial body. Here is an example of how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all good. Putana came to kill Krishna, but because he sucked her milk, she was immediately purified, and her dead body attained a transcendental quality. Her only business was to kill small children. She was only fond of blood, but in spite of being envious of Krishna, she attained salvation because she gave her milk to him to drink. So what can be said of those who are affectionate to Krishna in the relationship of mother, who with great love and affection always serve him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supersoul of every living entity? There's another side note here, because Putana came to kill all the children of Vrindavan. So Vishaka, her mother, put her in a wicker basket and then placed her in the Jamuna River. And so she floated down the Jamuna River. And then it's a nice scene when Krishna was climbing on the top of Putana. Then there was a reunion with Vishaka and Lalita, all the cowherd gopis. And that's a beautiful recollection for sure. It is concluded, therefore, that even a little energy expended in the service of the Lord gives one immense transcendental profit. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. Devotional service in Krishna consciousness is so sublime that even a little service rendered to Krishna, knowingly or unknowingly, gives one the greatest transcendental benefit. The system of worshipping Krishna by offering flowers from a tree is also beneficial for the living entity who is confined to the bodily existence of that tree. When flowers and fruits are offered to Krishna, the tree that bore them also receives much benefit indirectly. The archana process, or worshipping procedure, is therefore beneficial for everyone. Krishna is worshipable by great demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva, and Putana was so fortunate that the same Krishna played in her lap as a little child. The lotus feet of Krishna, which are worshipped by great sages and devotees, were placed on the body of Putana. People worship Krishna and offer him food with great reverence and devotion, but automatically he sucked the milk from the body of Putana. Devotees therefore pray that if simply by offering something as an enemy, Putana got so much benefit, then who can measure the benefit of worshipping Krishna in love and affection? Therefore only Krishna should be worshipped, for so much benefit awaits the worshipper. So worshipping Krishna is all rewards. We know, yayatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As all who surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So it's all rewards, all benefits for the worshippers of Krishna. Although Putana was an evil spirit, she gained elevation just like the mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is clear that the cows and the elder gopis who offered milk to Krishna were also elevated to the transcendental position. Krishna can offer anyone anything, from liberation to anything materially conceivable. Therefore, there cannot be any doubt of the salvation of Putana, whose bodily milk was sucked by Krishna for such a long time. And how can there be any doubt about the salvation of the gopis, who were so fond of Krishna? Undoubtedly, all the gopis, cowherd boys, cows, and everyone else who served Krishna in Vrindavan with love and affection were liberated from the miserable condition of material existence. When all the inhabitants of Vrindavan smelled the good aroma from the smoke of the burning Putana, they inquired from each other, "Where is this good fragrance coming from?" And while conversing, they came to understand that it was the fumes of the burning Putana. They were very fond of Krishna, and as soon as they heard that the demon Putana had been killed by Krishna, they offered blessings to the little child out of affection. After the burning of Putana, Nanda Maharaj came home and immediately took up the child on his lap and began to smell his head. In this way, he was quite satisfied that his little child was saved from this great calamity. Sri Shukadev Goswami has given a blessing to all persons who hear the narration of the killing of Putana by Krishna. They will surely attain the favor of Govinda. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 6th chapter of Krishna, Putana killed. Chapter 7, the salvation of Trinavarta. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is always full with 6 opulences, namely complete wealth, complete strength, complete fame, complete knowledge, complete beauty, and complete renunciation. The Lord appears in different complete, eternal forms of incarnation. The conditioned soul has immense opportunity to hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord in these different incarnations. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Janma karma chame divyam. The pastimes and activities of the Lord are not material. They are beyond the material conception. And the conditioned soul can benefit by hearing such uncommon activities. Hearing is an opportunity to associate with the Lord. To hear his activities is to evolve one's transcendental nature. Simply by hearing, the conditioned soul has a natural aptitude to hear something about other conditioned souls in the form of fiction, drama, and novel. That inclination to hear something about others may be utilized in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Then one can immediately evolve his transcendental nature. Krishna's pastimes are not only beautiful, they are also very pleasing to the mind. So here Prabhupada is glorifying Shravanam, or the hearing of the Bhagavad. So essentially, when you read Bhagavad Mahatmya in the Skanda Purana, it explains that everyone is aware of the benefit of hearing Bhagavad Gita, so much so that all the holy rivers are present in that place which is glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. All the holy pilgrimage places personified are there. All the demigods are there, and Krishna is there present in his name as well. If someone takes advantage of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, the material contamination of dust accumulated in the heart due to long association with material nature can be immediately cleansed. So we know Cheto Dapana Majjanam. So the cleansing of the heart occurs as a result of the hearing. Lord Chaitanya also instructed that simply by hearing the transcendental name of Lord Krishna, one can cleanse the heart of all material contamination. There are different processes for self-realization, but this process of devotional service, of which hearing is the most important function, when adopted by any conditioned soul, will automatically cleanse him of the material contamination and enable him to realize his real constitutional position. There's a beautiful conversation that Prabhupada had, and he was saying about how it's just the process of hearing alone is so powerful that eventually you will see Krishna. In this lifetime, you take to hearing the holy name, you take to hearing Bhagavad Gita, eventually you will see Krishna. Conditional life is due to this contamination only, and as soon as it is cleared off, then naturally the dormant function of the living entity, rendering service to the Lord, awakens. By developing his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, one becomes eligible to create friendship with the devotees. Maharaj Parikshit recommended, from practical experience, that everyone try to hear about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. This Krishna treatise is meant for that purpose, and the reader may take advantage of it to attain the ultimate goal of human life. So we're very fortunate to be in the association of Srila Prabhupada, and recently he's distributed over 580 million books. So it's since 1964 with the inauguration of ISKCON, now there's 580 million books that have been presented in English language and so many languages. So we have this information available to us to really relish and hear about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The Lord, out of his causeless mercy, descends to this material world and displays his activities just like an ordinary man. Unfortunately, the impersonalist or the atheistic class of men consider Krishna to be an ordinary man like themselves, and so they deride him. This is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself when he says, Avajananti mam mudaha. The mudas or rascals take Krishna to be an ordinary man or a slightly more powerful man out of their great misfortune. They cannot accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes such unfortunate persons misrepresent themselves as incarnations of Krishna without referring to the authorized scriptures. So it's also in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we also know the Guru to not be an ordinary man. And this is a statement of Bilvamangala Thakura. He said, anyone who sees the deity is made of stone and the spiritual master to be an ordinary man is surely a resident of hell. So we have to understand Srila Prabhupada is not an ordinary man. Krishna is also not an ordinary man like these impersonalists and Mayavadis believe him to be. And it's their great misfortune that they come across this misunderstanding or misinterpretation. When Krishna grew up a little more, he began to turn himself backside up. He did not merely lie down on his back. And another function was observed by Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's first birthday. They arranged for Krishna's birthday ceremony, which is still observed by all followers of the Vedic principles. Krishna's birthday ceremony is observed in India by all Hindus, irrespective of different sectarian views. All the cowherd men and women were invited to participate in the jubilant celebration. A nice band played, and the assembled people enjoyed it. All the learned brahmanas were invited, and they chanted Vedic hymns for the good fortune of Krishna. During the chanting of the Vedic hymns and playing of the bands, Krishna was bathed by Mother Yashoda. This bathing ceremony is technically called Abhishek, and even today this is observed in all the temples of Vrindavan on Janmashtami Day, or the birthday anniversary of Lord Krishna. And again, we owe it to Srila Prabhupada for observing the first Janmashtami festival outside of India. On board the Jaladuta, when Prabhupada came from India to the west, he observed the first Janmashtami ceremony with full Abhishek, full distribution of prasadam, full Bhagavat Katar. And so now this book is explaining, observed in all the temples of Vrindavan on Janmashtami Day, and then so over 108 temples in the western countries also celebrate the Abhishek festival of Krishna on the Janmashtami Day, much to the glory of Guru and Gauranga. On this occasion, Mother Yashoda arranged to distribute a large quantity of grain, and first-class cows decorated with golden ornaments were made ready to be given in charity to the learned, respectable brahmanas. Yashoda took her bath and dressed herself nicely, and taking child Krishna, duly dressed and bathed, on her lap, she sat down to hear the Vedic hymns chanted by the brahmanas. While Mother Yashoda was listening to the chanting of the Vedic hymns, the child appeared to be falling asleep, and therefore she very silently laid him down on the bed. Being engaged in receiving all the friends, relatives and residents of Vrindavan on that holy occasion, she forgot to feed the child milk. He was crying, being hungry, but Mother Yashoda could not hear him cry because of the various noises. The child, however, became angry because he was hungry and his mother was not paying attention to him. So he lifted his legs and began to kick his lotus feet just like an ordinary child. Baby Krishna had been placed underneath a hand-driven cart, and while he was kicking his legs, he accidentally touched the wheel of the cart and it collapsed. So this is the death of Shakatasura, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur reminds us is we have laziness in our spiritual life, and so as a result of that, if we hear this pastime of Shakatasura being killed by Krishna, we can remove that laziness that may arise in our Krishna consciousness. So the Shakatasura represents laziness, much like Putana represented the false ego. He accidentally touched the wheel of the cart and it collapsed. Various kinds of utensils and dishes made of brass and other metals had been piled up in the handcart, and they all fell down with a great noise. The wheel of the cart separated from the axle, and the spokes of the wheel were all broken and scattered hither and thither. Mother Yashoda and all the gopis, as well as Maharaj Nanda and the cowherd men, were astonished as to how the cart could have collapsed by itself. All the men and women who were assembled for the holy function crowded around and began to suggest how the cart might have collapsed. No one could ascertain the cause, but some small children who were entrusted to play with baby Krishna informed the crowd that it was due to Krishna striking his feet against the wheel. They assured the crowd that they had seen how it happened with their own eyes, and they strongly asserted the point. Some were listening to the statement of the small children, but others said, How can you believe the statements of these children? The cowherd men and women could not understand that the all-powerful personality of Godhead was lying there as a baby, and that he could do anything. Both the possible and impossible were in his power. So there's a beautiful story about the cobbler. So the cobbler spent his entire life making shoes. These days we have machines and factories, you press a button and you get a whole lot of shoes coming out. In the old days it was a cobbler with like various instruments making shoes for people. And so there was this one gentleman who spent his whole life making shoes, and everything that he got he would give in donation to Ganga. As a result, he was very charitable, and his one prayer was, please let me see Narayana. Please let me see Narayana. He spent his whole life just chanting the names of Narayana, Krishna, I want to see. Narada Muni heard his prayer. He came down and he spoke to the cobbler and he said, you know, I've seen Narayana. And then so the cobbler asked him, well, what was he doing at the time that you saw him? And then so Narayana was so intelligent, he knew the question would be coming from the cobbler. So he said, tell the cobbler that I was putting an elephant through the eye of a needle. So instantly, that's what Narada Muni told to the cobbler. And so then straight away there was no confusion with the cobbler at all. He knew perfectly well that both the possible and impossible were in Krishna's power. So Krishna can do anything. He can fit an elephant through the eye of a needle. While the discussion was going on, baby Krishna cried. Without remonstration, Mother Yashoda picked the child up on her lap and called the learned brahmanas to chant holy Vedic hymns to counteract the evil spirits. At the same time, she allowed the baby to suck her breast. If a child sucks the mother's breast nicely, it is to be understood that he is out of all danger. After this, all the stronger cowherd men put the broken cart in order, and all the scattered things were set up nicely as before. The brahmanas thereafter began to offer oblations to the sacrificial fire with yogurt, butter, kusha grass and water. They worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the good fortune of the child. The brahmanas who were present at that time were all qualified because they were not envious. They never indulged in untruthfulness. They were never proud. They were never violent. They were non-violent, and they never claimed any false prestige. They were all bona fide brahmanas, and there was no reason to think that their blessings would be useless. With firm faith in the qualified brahmanas, Nanda Maharaj took his child on his lap and bathed him with water mixed with various herbs, while the brahmanas chanted hymns from the Rig, Yajur and Sama Vedas. It is said that without being a qualified brahmana, one should not read the mantras of the Vedas. Here is the proof that the brahmanas were qualified with all the Brahminical symptoms. Maharaj Nanda also had full faith in them. Therefore they were allowed to perform the ritualistic ceremonies by chanting the Vedic mantras. There are many different varieties of sacrifices recommended for different purposes, but the mantras are all to be chanted by qualified brahmanas. And because in this age of Kali, such qualified brahmanas are not available, all Vedic ritualistic sacrifices are forbidden. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore recommended only one kind of sacrifice in this age, namely the Sankirtan Yagya, or chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada gave a further point on this, that in the old days you had brahmanas who would perform horse sacrifices or Ashwamedha yagyas. Even Maharaj Yudhisthira was quite common in his time to do horse sacrifices. And then Srila Prabhupada said the reason why they're forbidden now is because in those days the brahmanas were qualified, they would put a horse into the fire and a new animal would immediately come out. So there was just an exchange of life rather than a loss of life. So that's why in this age the process of chanting the holy names is recommended. As the Brahmanas chanted the Vedic hymns and performed the ritualistic ceremonies for the second time, Nanda Maharaj again gave them huge quantities of grain and many cows. All the cows which were given in charity were covered with nice gold-embroidered garments, and their horns were bedecked with golden rings. Their hooves were covered with silver plate, and they wore garlands of flowers. He gave so many cows just for the welfare of his wonderful child, and the Brahmanas in return bestowed their heartfelt blessings, and the blessings offered by the able Brahmanas were never to be baffled. One day, shortly after the ceremony, when Mother Yashoda was patting her baby on her lap, the baby felt too heavy, and being unable to carry him, she unwillingly placed him on the ground. After a while, she became engaged in household affairs. At that time, a servant of Kamsa's known as Trinavarta, as instructed by Kamsa, appeared there in the shape of a whirlwind. He picked the child up on his shoulders and raised a great dust storm all over Vrindavan, covering everyone's eyes. Within a few moments, the whole area of Vrindavan became so densely dark that no one could see himself or anyone else. During this great catastrophe, Mother Yashoda could not see her baby, who had been taken away by the whirlwind, and she began to cry very piteously. She fell down on the ground, exactly like a cow who has just lost her calf. When Mother Yashoda was so piteously crying, all the cowherd women immediately came and began to look for the baby, but they were disappointed and could not find him. The Trinavarta demon went high into the sky with baby Krishna on his shoulder, but the baby assumed such a weight that suddenly he could not go any further, and he had to stop his whirlwind activities. Baby Krishna made himself heavy and began to weigh down the demon, catching hold of his neck. Trinavarta felt the baby to be as heavy as a big mountain, and he tried to get out of his clutches, but he was unable to do so, and his eyes popped out from their sockets. Crying very fiercely, he fell down to the ground of Vrindavan and died. The demon fell exactly like Tripurasura, who was pierced by the arrow of Lord Shiva. Trinavarta hit a stone slab, and his limbs were smashed. His body became visible to all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So, my dear devotees, thank you so much for joining us for this Krishna class. We really relish the chanting of the Krishna's names, the Bhagavad Gita. It's scheduled to finish at 8:15. So, has anyone got a quick comment or something to say? Sure.
Yeah.